Miles Sanders is your starter, right? Starting next season.
Yep.
Any news on Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, or are they still coming back?
Deshaun's retiring. He's expected to announce in the next like 2 weeks, I guess.
Okay.
And then Alshon's getting cut. He restructured to save us a bunch of money.
Okay, but he's just getting cut anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
He definitely sold.
Yeah, he's just washed, man. Like he's not only is he old, he's just not good anymore.
So the thing is with Alshon Jeffrey, I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was washed. I just think he just gave up on Wentz. Right? Wasn't there?
Yeah, he gave up on Philly.
Wasn't he like one of the guys that came out and said that he just wasn't big on Wentz? Was that him?
It wasn't like straight from him or whatever, but process of elimination kind of thing. They were like,
okay.
They didn't like his attitude.
I kind of just figured it was just he just came out with it. I don't know.
It was through Josina Anderson.
Okay. All right. I just threw it off. I just went online. Give people a few minutes to get in here before we actually start. We can just ramble on whatever in the meantime.
Yeah, I really hope we pick up a running back this draft.
You definitely need a second one. I hope we don't take a running back. We don't need any in New England. We definitely don't.
Yeah, you guys have 4 solid ones.
James White and Burkhead are free agents.
Okay.
If they're cheap, I did an off-season video for New England. Just on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side, we're fine. I think we just gotta bring back J.C. Jackson. That's pretty much it. Because everybody's coming back. Patrick Chung,
get people
Hightower. Yeah, so I don't think we need Burkhead because now
you get people off that COVID list, man.
Yeah, after the rookie that we had, we don't need Burkhead to come back unless it's a super team friendly deal.
Yeah.
And then
Tony and Harris can handle it, man.
Yeah, and then we just bring back James White as the pass catcher.
Yeah, which he'd probably come back cheap because he's on the back end of his career anyways.
Yeah, he's I think 20, and Burkhead's like 31. And
I wouldn't bring back Burkhead, man.
Yeah, and running back years.
Yeah, you don't see Frank Gores everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, guys like so. I'm starting to see a lot of people say that New England should get like Jonnu Smith. That's not a name I've heard. Nobody's bringing up a lot. I would take him, especially since you got like an Ertz and you got a Hunter Henry who's gonna, that's like the tier 1 tight ends available. Jonnu Smith's like a tier 2. I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, if you look at like New England's history, they always like excelled with those tier 2 guys.
Yeah, I just
Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. They were like Gronk was like a 3rd round pick, and then Aaron was a 5th.
Something like that. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Ram of Dawn? Thanks. We're about to get started now. As much as Aaron Hernandez is, his life outside of football, as a football player, I miss him. He was amazing. I miss him.
It was. I mean, you're talking about an extremely heavy situation outside of football, but on the football field, the guy was unstoppable.
There's not many tight ends you can just hand the ball off to on a run play.
He was one of them.
Yeah. All right. 4 o'clock. I guess we can get started. I told a lot of my friends about this. So what's up, everybody? We're gonna be doing a video on Carson Wentz, whether he's still good or not. A lot of people are saying he's great. With both of us here, me and SokoNFL here, aka Brennan, we both disagree. We'll be going over why. His name under his webcam is his Twitter @, so feel free to follow him there on Twitter, especially if you're an Eagles fan. A lot of his content is great, and it's Eagles. He actually posted one today for his Eagles mock draft. It's actually pretty good. I did a quick skim before I invited you here. Quick skim.
Yeah, man, it's draft season for us. It's been draft season for about 4 months now for us. So
I've been, as a Pats fan, we've been so lucky to have Brady, where I didn't care about. I didn't care about the offseason. It was, I guess, I used to plug and play. Now this is the most invested I've ever been in an offseason. And just plug and play.
yeah, I mean, even having a season like it's kind of hard to call it a down season when you still have like you're barely inside that top 15 pick. Like, is that really? I mean, I guess 15. In New England terms, it's a down season, but
that is the highest pick since Richard Seymour.
Oh, 99?
I think it was 99. I forget what pick he was, but yeah, since Richard Seymour, that's the earliest we're picking.
That's insane to me.
Because even the years we didn't make the playoffs, 08 we went 10-6 with Castle.
And that was the 10-6 team that missed, right?
Yeah, because the Dolphins and the Jets both went 10-6. That was, I think, Brett Favre was on the Jets.
Yep.
And then the Dolphins had Pennington.
Yeah, Pennington was still down there.
I think he was on the Jets. On the Dolphins. Yeah, his win's still good. He definitely has flashes of being a great playmaker. It's just the mistakes he's made were just playing hero ball. So
and that's that's whenever he got drafted, a lot of people lauded him as a gunslinger, and everybody liked to compare him to Brett Favre. And for the most part, throughout the early duration of his career, he avoided the turnovers. And that he had good offenses. Had bad moments. Had a lot of injuries happen throughout the course of his time in Philadelphia, but he always. I mean, look at last season. He willed trash cans at wide receiver, practice squad guys that he got to practice for 3 days with to a playoff spot. Obviously, he only took 4 snaps in that playoff game from the concussion, but he's still there, man. It's this is you're seeing Wentz without some of the playmakers, some of the luckier plays, I'll call them. But you kind of see that Brett Favre in him a little bit, and for as great as a career as Brett Favre had, he still leads the NFL in turnovers.
Yeah. And Brett Favre wasn't bad either. He was. I think that's what makes some of these quarterbacks great, like Favre and I think Rivers. I would consider him as a gunslinger. If they saw 1-on-1, they were testing it. I respect that because there's quarterbacks that won't take that risk, especially if you have receivers like a Fitzgerald, like a Hopkins, Vincent Jackson. When he was in the Bucks, they wouldn't test that 1-on-1.
Right.
Where if you have if you have like a tall number 1, I'm testing it every time.
Yep. And that's the thing. You look at the Super Bowl run, the year that he was, he only played 13 games, but he got MVP votes still because he had a number 1. He had an X. That was the year that Alshon Jeffrey really shined with him. AJ didn't put up gaudy numbers, but he had 800 yards, 850, I think it was, and 8 touchdowns.
The funny thing is too,
and that's with guys like Torrey Smith.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be the speedster. He didn't have much speed. Once they picked up like Alshon Jeffrey, because his rookie year, I was like, he's not bad. They're losing, but they're there. They just, I forgot. His number 1 receiver was like Riley Cooper.
Yeah, Riley Cooper and Nelson Aguilar were the 2.
Yeah, like those aren't, and they're in games. I remember there was a game against, I think it was against Pittsburgh. They were like double-digit underdogs or something. It was really bad, like what the projection was. And they were there. They could have actually won that game. And I'm like, if you put weapons around him, this team could be good.
Yeah, you're talking. So his rookie year, they finished 7-9, and they lost 6 of those 9 games by 1 possession or less. That's in ball games.
Mm-hmm. And then I remember once they got Alshon Jeffrey, I'm like, oh, they're gonna start moving now because Ertz was already coming up, and then they got Blount from he was coming from New England after they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, so I was like, nah, they're going all in this year.
Yep.
Some of his hero ball moments, though, at least from what I saw. I mean, I didn't really watch that many Eagles games. I watched, obviously if it was on TV in New York, they were on TV quite often. I would tune in here and there. Because I didn't like how they were treating him, which we will go over shortly. I wasn't a fan of the play calling. It's holding on to the ball too long, and you can tell he's just scrambling when
Yeah.
there's no need to scramble, which you're going to show us in a little bit on how spectacular their top rated O line was, battered down through injuries. But you can just tell after a while he just didn't know if he was protected or not. And he just started scrambling, and then he just felt the need to just get rid of the ball when he didn't have to.
Yeah, and that's another big thing that people like to ding Carson Wentz on is mechanics. A lot of his deep ball mechanics were off this year. Whenever you get hit 116 times in a matter of 12 games, well, 11 and a half games because he got pulled for Hurts in the 12th. Whenever you get hit 116 times, you're going to get antsy. And these aren't average Joe Blow high school hits. You're talking about NFL linebackers, NFL edge rushers. You're talking about the cream of the crop coming in and smacking you right in the face 116 times.
Yeah, and
On
especially
top of that, the injury prone label. You get hit 116 times by an NFL linebacker or NFL lineman, you don't get hurt. I think we can put that to bed.
and then one of them was like a major injury, which he missed a playoff run, and then he missed the start of the season after. And that to me, he was just rushing to come back. I felt like they just rushed him back when he could have just chilled for a little longer and I don't think he was 100% when he came back.
Yeah, you're talking. It was week 14 whenever he suffered the injury, and Foles had to come in. He suffered major structural damage in his knee, along with 3 ligament tears: ACL, MCL, and meniscus is what he ended up tearing in that. And in week 14, he came out and was ready for training camp apparently, and was taking all the reps in training camp. And to be honest with you, I'm right there with you. He came out sluggish. Obviously, we had some O-line injuries that year as well, so he was getting hit a lot. And then he ended up playing 11 games that year, finished 5-6 on the year, and they had to put him on IR with 3 fractured vertebrae in his back. So you're talking, not only is he still coming back from a knee injury, but he's also suffered 3 fractured vertebrae on top of that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I feel like obviously since he wasn't 100% with his legs, your back is what's suffering. So on top of getting hit, his back is taking a toll from having to carry the weight from his not 100% legs. And then
Right, and that's what he said after the 2018 season. He was starting to develop issues with his elbow and his throwing arm as well, because he was using either back, shoulder, or arm to make those deep drive throws where you actually have to like bear down on your actual like base of your legs. He was using his shoulders, back, and his arm, and started to I think he said it was more like a tennis elbow kind of thing. But yeah, whenever you don't have that base as a quarterback, that's when you really start to develop those upper body issues.
if you have some of the footage, hold on, still going over. Okay. Um, and then the Eagles still struggled to make the playoffs the following season with Nick Foles. And then I think Alshon Jeffrey is one that dropped the pass. But like even then, like you're still struggling to make the playoffs with a quarterback you just won the Super Bowl with.
Yep.
So the fact that what was their record the year after?
A 9-7.
Yeah, so okay, so they're 5-6, so then they go 4-2 to finish the season with Foles.
1-1 to finish out the year.
I remember that run they went on. I forgot there was a team that lost for the Eagles to get in. Was it the Cowboys?
Yeah, it was Dallas in week 17. It was for the playoff spot. They were both I want to say they were both 8-7 going into that game, and winner takes all for the playoff spot.
Unbelievable, Dallas. But I don't understand how you can be all in. You can just give up on Wentz that season, aka like in my opinion, I feel like Alshon Jeffrey just gave up on Wentz, but you can be all in on Foles, who you're still struggling to.
And that's kind of a weird dissension in the locker room too. A lot of stuff went on behind the scenes that we didn't really hear about, that we're hearing about now after the fact. That a lot of people didn't like the way that Wentz carried himself in the locker room. Not necessarily that he was a cancer, he just didn't really involve everyone. Like he would talk to his receivers and his running backs and his O line, but he would treat like the defense different. And that's something that as a vet, Alshon and guys that are in the locker room right now picked up on, and they're kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a lack of trust, but they're skeptical of him just because they're all on the same team, even though you're competing at practice. Once you're out of that practice field, it should be a brotherhood, and
Yeah.
they're starting to see that dissension come to a head at this point, obviously with the trade rumors and such.
Okay, yeah, because I saw the like Miles Sanders tweeted once the Wentz rumor got reported. I'm curious about that, like the reasoning for it, right? Of course, that's obviously something you um,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I think that's just a bad look throughout the locker room, and I felt like coaching staff as a in general, just as a whole, just I don't think they did a great job of that, of like keeping them together.
That's another thing with Doug Peterson is everybody lauded him for being such a player's coach. But what a lot of people don't understand is Doug was a very young coach at that. So he went from coaching his son's high school team, being an offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs under Andy Reid, just because Reid was familiar with Peterson during Peterson's time in Philadelphia, noticed this come up, and then brought him in. Well, he was only the offensive coordinator for in City for 4 seasons before he got a head coaching job. You're talking about a 4-year experience in the NFL as somebody who's not calling plays to now being the guy, the head guy, and calling plays and managing an offense while managing a defense and putting a game plan together for a team. And that's something that you were a part of, but you didn't create that game plan for them. Where now you're the guy, and that looking back on it, you seem to think that Frank Reich had a lot more to do with that Super Bowl than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I didn't really hear much about. Obviously, once you're successful as a coordinator, obviously it's great for you to leave and become a head coach somewhere. But I remember when Peterson got hired. Yeah, he wasn't a popular.
No, and that's we as Eagles fans are revisionists. We like to go back and make fun of ourselves on the timeline. There's a lot of people that were clamoring for Adam Gase to be our next head coach, and obviously it turned out better for us that we hired Peterson, but at the same time, like Doug Peterson wasn't a popular name, and there were actually a lot of people that were upset whenever he got hired.
Yeah, you guys completely dodged the bullet there. Yeah, so I feel bad for Darno and Tannehill. Let's give props to Peyton Manning for getting Gase head coaching.
Oh yeah, he's the sole reason.
Mm-hmm. Just look what Tannehill is doing in Tennessee, doing amazing. And I was one of
Yeah.
those guys that gave up on him because obviously he was highly regarded coming out of college, and once he got to Miami, he was supposed to be their guy. And then I think he got benched for what did he get benched for?
Fitz, wasn't it? No, Fitz was with Tampa.
Yeah, was it Chad Henne? I forget. It was a name. It was just another gunslinger, and he got benched a few times.
Yeah, just a Joe Blow.
Yeah, and then like now he's Tennessee. So
Yeah.
you guys dodged the bullet there. I don't want to see Gase ever in the end.
No, and that's the thing. If there's any Jets fans watching, like Robert Saleh it should be your savior. To be honest with you, like I know there's trade rumors with Darnold and everything out right now, but man, I'd at least like to see him with 1 year under a new offense because we have all seen how bad Gase is.
Yeah, and then like I compare Darno with Wentz quite often, where they both have flashes that they can be great. They just don't have the consistent game plan where it's the same offense for just more than a year. I feel like it's
Yeah, and in 2020, I mean, for example, everybody was calling for Wentz to get benched, for good reason. He had a very down season. But if you look at some of the greats around the NFL, their 5th year was their worst year. Aaron Rodgers, for example, Tom Brady, both of them had more turnovers than they had touchdowns in their 5th year. So, I mean, to say that Wentz is shot off of one bad season, I don't think so. As we'll get into later, there's numerous reasons why Carson Wentz was bad this year, and it's not all Carson Wentz like people seem to think.
so now talk about Wentz getting benched. Obviously, the reason why I wanted to definitely make this video was because once there was rumors that New England was interested, I was all in on bringing in Wentz. Right, he has the talent, we have the coaching. There's consistency. I've been telling people this forever. Where one of the main reasons why New England has been successful for so long is because our coaches, they stay. We don't fire anybody if we don't win this Bowl. Um, like we've had McDaniels for a long time. We had Patricia for a long time. Thank God he left because he was awful. But he was there for a while. So was Brian Flores. He was just an assistant to Patricia, and he was there for years. So a lot of
Yeah.
people underestimate having coaches for just more than just 2 seasons. Like if you another
Yeah, and
example,
that's
Josh Allen, his third year, he finally became great. Brady didn't start becoming a gunslinger until 2007. Before that, he was just Alex Smith.
yeah. And that's
But
kind of what That's what kind of what I'm talking about with Wentz is you're talking a guy who's had 4 different quarterback coaches, 3 different offensive coordinators in 5 years in the NFL. So as much as we laud New England for their consistency, you got to look at Philadelphia as the opposite, and you can't keep anybody.
yeah, and then your one good thing obviously becomes the head coach. So it shows you the success he had, but you can't replicate it after that. But a lot of my friends, when I tweeted that, like, I'm in for New England being interested in Wentz. I'd want him because we have the coaching, like I said. A lot of my friends who are, they're pretty casual, which is fine. Their immediate response, like, Wentz is trash, Wentz is trash. And now you ask why, is because they get a spark with every other quarterback. I'm like, that just shows you the team gave up on him. And then one of my other friends says, Jalen is better. And it's just like, you can't tell me somebody that in like 4 games average 95 yards a game is better than a quarterback with 250 yards a game.
Yep. And you're also talking about Wentz has a 3.1 to 0.9 TD to interception ratio. We're talking about a guy who has a 61% completion rate for his career. We're talking about a guy who was an MVP candidate until a freak accident blew his knee to shreds. And he still stayed in 2 more plays to throw a touchdown on that blown out knee. So, the narrative can be there after 2020, and it is a what have you done for me lately type of league, I guess.
It's definitely what have you done for me lately. You have one bad game, especially in a town like Philly. No offense to your fan base, y'all are crazy.
Rough. We're rough.
Yeah, you have one bad game and people are calling for your heads already, and it's just
Yeah.
It's crazy how people applaud Nick Foles, who's been pretty average as an Eagle, right? But he's been bad everywhere else. So to say that he's like lead and all this, hasn't been great anywhere else.
Yeah, he's been probably above average as an Eagle. He had that 27-2 touchdown interception ratio year.
I remember that under Chip Kelly.
Yep, and then obviously you talk about the Super Bowl run, and then the playoff run the following year. So I think he's been I would say above average. Everywhere else he's been absolutely atrocious, and I don't know what it is with Nick. Like he just can't seem to put it together elsewhere.
I remember he went to the Rams. Was it the Rams after the Eagles?
Yeah, so we traded Foles for Bradford and like a second round pick or something. Yeah, that was during the whole Chip Kelly dissension time whenever he cut Deshaun Jackson, cut Kerry Williams, traded LaShawn McCoy for a bum on one knee as a linebacker, Kiko Alonso from Buffalo, straight up. LaShawn for Kiko, straight trade. And, what can I say? And that's kind of why I give Howie Roseman the credit that he has right now, because he's been through 3 of these rebuilds, and we're on the cusp of the third right now. So I'm interested to see what he is going to do as general manager. Like obviously starting with the Wentz trade.
And he's like midway through the 2020 season. I'm just like just get rid of everybody. They're a coach, get rid of him. Especially after watching your GM thread. Everybody needed to.
It's ugly. So we have a very bad history with the draft with Howie Roseman. You're talking 2 Pro Bowlers now have been drafted for us since 2016. That Wentz is one of them, and he's on the trade block. And Miles Sanders was an alternate this year, but actually got to step in and play. So I'll, give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Other than that, you're looking at a whole bunch of busts. Like, I know as Eagles fans, we don't want to hear this, but DK Metcalf went 4 picks after we took JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
I didn't
Who
even
doesn't see
I
the
ever even heard of him up until I was in the waiver wire, and I was like, who is this?
exactly?
And then
It's
Jalen,
yeah, it's
I'm
bad.
watching Eagles games. I'm like, I don't even know who Wentz is even throwing the ball to. Travis Fulgham, I saw that he was getting some points. So I'm like, all right, so he has to be balling out if you're getting points in fantasy. But
Yeah, yeah. He was a 6th round pick from the Lions in 2017, I want to say. Practice squad guy. Picked him up as like a camp body prior to this past season,
who Fulgham?
and he snapped. Yeah, Fulgham.
Oh, I thought you guys drafted him, or was that
Drafted.
Or was that Rager?
Rager was our 1st round pick this year
Oh,
from TCU.
oh, and you guys took him over. Did you guys take him over like other guys?
Justin Jefferson. Yeah, yeah, we did.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was reading. I'm like, okay, there were so many names. The Eagles took him. He was probably one of the only ones I didn't know who he was. I knew Henry Ruggs. I knew Jefferson. I knew who did the Steelers take? I knew they
Judy.
had Claypool and Johnson. Judy, I knew of. It was either him or Jefferson. Judy or Jefferson. I know those were the top two.
Oh, CD Lamb too.
CD Lamb. There we go. I followed I think like 3 Cowboys fans, and they were all ecstatic to get CD Lamb, and I'm like, they got CD Lamb, Gallup, Cooper, and their fourth receiver can be a number one on some teams.
Yeah, oh, you could probably be a number one in Philly.
Yeah. No, that was actually pretty ridiculous. I have the
Yeah, and that's the thing with the GM of the Eagles is he likes to think he's the smartest guy in the room. Has no football experience, but is a very good schmoozer. Has a very good relationship with our owner, and after this season, even given his 10-year track record of D- drafting, he never, quote unquote, was never thinking about firing Howie Roseman.
the fact that he still has
And
him is
that's
crazy.
yeah. So and that's the thing is we in Philadelphia like to say no blind loyalty. After the Super Bowl run, we were tired of it. We were done with having the loyalty contracts with all these old players, and you kind of want to cut bait with some of these guys because they're not performing how they used to. And we were constantly giving out loyalty contracts. Well, the GM came out and said, we're done with that. Well, now we need the owner to come out and say like, all
Yeah,
right, we're
right.
done with the loyalty because
Yeah,
he's been in the organization for 20 years now.
the GM is the one that said
GM
it
for 10 of it.
when he's the one that needs to go.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have the Wentz getting sacked thread, we can start with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if you want to just send it to me and I can show.
I got you.
Lavender Tea, what's up, man? Going over Carson Wentz and people saying that he's trash when it's a lot of other people's fault as well. And over here, SokoNFL has a whole thread of him getting sacked, and I think I'm gonna
All 52 of them.
52.
52 sacks this year in
Yeah,
11 and a half games.
he sat through that and watched it and studied why that happened. That sounds like torture.
Yeah. It, it's been frustrating. I'll say that much.
I know I enjoyed
You
reading
know,
it and watching it. I don't know if you can catch me doing a thread like that for Cam Newton. That was rough.
it is. I had to buy a 12 pack just to get through it, just because it was so demoralizing to watch.
And I remember them saying,
Right.
I remember the season starting. They had like one of the top, or when the off season started, they had like one of the top O line in the NFL, and then um,
Yeah,
they're just getting hurt left and right.
that's where it starts. Send it to your DM.
Okay. Um. Oh, here we go. Okay. Boom. Do you see it, Brandon? On the stream itself?
What's that?
On the stream itself, do you see it? Do you have it up?
I don't. Here, let me see if I can share my screen for you.
Oh, that works. The Bears might get him, and I really hope that does not happen. Why not? I mean, he has to be better than Mitchell Trubisky.
All right, are we seeing it? You see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
like this.
all right. I kind of typed out some of these. I was not in the mood to sit and record my screen with a crappy phone because I was on Game Pass. But you're talking about, look at this. So, right here, Kerrigan's already in his face.
Hmm?
Herberg's getting smoked.
You got two
Here's
guys there.
Boston Scott, little 5'6" Boston Scott, trying to get his life together with two defensive tackles right here in his face. And then you got Jason Peters standing here, Jason Kelsey watching, Deshaun Jackson watching. Like, come on, man.
Oh my god, where is Wentz? Oh my,
Same thing
can't
here.
even
Like,
see him.
look at this. Jason Peters has turned completely around. Chase Young, this is his first game of his NFL career. First game. And you're talking 257 in the first quarter, and he's got his first sack already. On top of that, you got Driscoll at right tackle. It's getting absolutely smoked by Kerrigan, and they got, you know, a double team block on Young,
Now,
or not on Young. I think that's Allen.
before you continue with that, it shows you his stats: 7 of 9 for it was like 112 yards. That's not bad. That's actually really good.
Yeah,
And a lot of people didn't believe me when I told them, even coming into the season, Washington, they had a top 4 scoring defense. Nobody believed me when I said like their defense
yeah.
is
You're
actually
talking
really solid.
that pass rush is insane. It's I mean, you're talking about a team that has 5 first round picks along the or the defensive line.
Yeah.
Like,
And then see, like when I need to remember names, I don't remember names. Their defensive coordinator, the former Oakland Raiders head coach, Jack Del Rio. He's a really good coach and a really
yeah,
good coordinator. He's really solid.
he's solid with pressure at that, and you give him a front seven like that, and he's going to absolutely wreck people. So here's a little bootleg. Watch this attempt at a block. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Here's a bootleg. Oh, I'm right in your face already. He's just getting to the top of his drop, and he's a step and a half away. This is a John Bostic sack. Look at this. He's clean all the way through.
Clean. Yeah.
No one touched him.
Nope.
Not one person. This is all the same game too, guys. Like, this is
You got sacked
still
7
part of
times in
game
one
one.
game.
Yeah,
Nick
sacked
Moat, how you doing, man?
8 or 9 times in that game. And look at the guard try and pull.
Yeah, nah.
Like,
Did a
oh my.
terrible job.
And you got Boston Scott right there.
Yeah, Boston
Boston
Scott
Scott is your
even.
best pass protector. Yeah, 8 times in game 1 he was sacked.
At least he went game 2 without getting
Uh,
sacked.
no, he got sacked in game 2 too. I just couldn't bring myself. Oh, nope, he did go game 2 without getting sacked. He actually won that game. We were 1-1.
I think Wentz could be average with a good O
Let's
line.
see.
Well, the thing is, we kind of already went over. Like he needs at least an average line because his O line was one of the worst I've ever seen. Better
Yeah.
play calling because the play calling this year was just not great. Just looking at the amount of times he got sacked and the play calling for it, and then yeah, play calling. He needs
So
help.
this is
He needs
you'll
healthy weapons.
you'll see right here. This one's on Wentz, man. Like, this is kind of where he started getting antsy because he didn't have his O line right there. You see the double hitch. He had a guy open over the center of the field, and yeah, that hitch just got way worse as the season went on, man. Like you saw a lot of it in the Pittsburgh game because of how much pressure Pittsburgh can create.
Oh yeah,
See,
they
this is
had one of the best defenses in the league.
yeah. So watch Kelsey gets pushed back right here, and then he swats him away, like, oh, get out of here, and then he just stops blocking. At the same time, Wentz like probably should have the ball gone by now.
Yeah, he should have gotten rid of it. It ends up being a sack. Yeah.
So this is going to be a corner blitz from Mike Hilton. You'll see him. Look, he rubs shoulders with Lane Johnson before he's in. You can't even stick an arm out and hold. I'd rather take the holding call than take this, 8-9 yard sack.
And then there's 3 guys back there.
Yeah, already. This is a Ravens game. Judon's the one who gets through right here on a stunt, and they don't pick it up. Oh no,
Why do you have
yeah,
2
they
guys
pick it up
blocking
late.
him?
That's what it was.
They have 2 guys back
Yep. Calais Campbell. I mean, Calais Campbell is a monster. This
there.
is where Jamon Brown was starting at right guard for us, and Jamon Brown was an absolute nightmare. Look at this. This is a simple swim move to get through. Simple punch cross,
Oh my god,
and
he
he's going
embarrassed him.
flying. That's what I'm
He
saying. Like,
embarrassed him.
I know how good Calais Campbell is, man, but like that simple of a move, like it's just a simple punch cross, and look how far he goes flying.
Jesus. We'll probably end up going
Uh,
over some of what we've already said. Don't worry, Nick. You're good. We're obviously streaming this on YouTube, so the video will be up. I'll try to put some timestamps on it as well.
this is Mailata, one of the few bad snaps that he had on the season. I think Mailata is probably like the lone bright spot of the season. He just doesn't pick up the blitzer because he thinks he has a tight end on the outside where the tight end's going out for a pass. Or I think it's Greg Ward here in motion. He thinks he has Greg Ward to pick up this inside rusher right here. So he's picking up the linebacker that collapses down in, and it's just a free rush, man. Like, we had 14 different offensive line combinations throughout the season, so the communication there was none, and it completely shows on especially plays like this.
Yeah, and then he's getting hit from both sides.
And then another corner blitz, man. Like, look at Marlon come straight through on the right side of Lane. Like,
And
he barely,
then he can't.
you're talking,
Wentz can't even step up there.
yeah. And this is what I was talking about right here with last year, where Darnold said he was seeing ghosts. That you can see it right here with Wentz because he had a guy open on a comeback on the right side, and he's like, "No, I don't have time to throw it. I don't want to fumble it." And holding on to the ball too long, not hitting your open receivers. Like,
Yeah, that's just
this
confidence
is,
at that point.
yeah, you're talking about a guy getting hit probably 30 to 40 times at this point in the season. We're on game 7 at this point, and it doesn't get any prettier. And look how bad Mailata looks on that snap. You got a simple D-tackle bull rush. Nobody stands up. Simple. You're talking the bare basic concept for a defensive tackle is a bull rush. And he just gets circled, swarmed. He feels the pressure on the outside, but it doesn't help that you feel the pressure on the outside because you're already taking inside pressure. This is Mailata at right tackle. So Mailata's not a right tackle. He's played his entire career. If you didn't know, up until 3 years ago, Mailata had never played a snap in the NFL. He was a rugby player.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're
Yeah.
talking about a guy not only who's only played football for 3 years, but now you're going to completely move him to the other side of the line playing football. Like, come on, man.
Rugby where
This
people
is a back-to-back here. So
where people are used to
yeah,
getting.
Demarcus, and then look at that, man. Like even something as small as the running back going, not even like on the right side for the play action. Like you're not selling this whatsoever. Then obviously he's standing tall, and this is a game that Rager was out as well. So we're down our quote unquote number one receiver, and he's running for his life. This is where Trevon Diggs comes off his read though, and you get the sack fumble.
Yeah, you gotta just
So
throw it
this
away.
should be gone
Yeah.
way longer ago. The minute you see him collapse, it has to be gone. Um, Another sack fumble. Like I said, man, this is the point where Carson's not. See right here, Greg Ward's wide open. You have another guy. I think
Yeah, it's two guys
I
open
can't
there.
tell who that is by the number. Yeah, so you're talking about a crosser and then somebody running a mesh route, like, and then just sitting down in the center of it. I think it's Greg Ward is going to sit down right here. And boom, that's where you hit. But at the same time, you're talking about play calling because you have two guys in the same area and you're on fourth down. So watch the play concept develop. Ward's already out of his break, but because this is a shallow cross, they cover each other up. And that's where kind of like what we were talking about with play calling. Like it's gotta be better. Oh, this is a disgust. This is the Travis Fulgham special right here. The stiff arm. This isn't a sack. I just wanted to show it. Mush, sit down.
Oh my god. Yeah, like some of those were some of those some of those look bad.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing is everybody will always pin it on Wentz. You know, he's the quarterback. He's supposed to be the leader of this offense and such. But man, like if you actually go through and see what he had to play through, I can tell you I'd miss some open guys in the process too. Like there's Leonard Williams right there. Like he just bust straight through.
Hon-
And
Honestly, if I'm all season feeling pressure from my front, my backside, my front side, I'd lose confidence whether or not I had room or not, or time in the
yeah,
pocket or not, because you're just so used to feeling it, you don't even know what it's like to have time.
and like this man, like blocking scheme, like you're telling me that this blocking scheme, you're running a pass, but you're running a trap with your,
With the
you're pulling
guard,
your guard out and not running a screen. Obviously, you're going to leave somebody, with a free rush. It's
and nobody picks up the
science.
inside guy.
It's
You got a running back and the guard picking up the same guy. Who's that? Is that Boston Scott there on the
look at
running
this.
back? Yeah. Then doesn't even chip the
Yeah,
linebacker.
and that's
Free
the thing.
rush.
Like, if you're getting, and another thing with the O line, man, like I said earlier, you're talking 14 different offensive line combinations, and that's enough in itself to deal with. But then whenever you throw in tricky, blocking schemes and everything else, you can't do that. You got to dumb it down for these guys. You're talking second and third string offensive linemen at this point. And then here, like Olivier Vernon was an absolute nightmare in this matchup against the Browns. Like the guy was all over the place. He's the one who put Wentz down in the end zone for the safety. And Wentz is really lucky that he held on to the ball because that was about to be six, like right there. Even on the pick six, man, Vernon was the one who tipped Wentz's arm on the throw
Yeah.
for the pick six.
Yeah, that ball was.
And then like this is kind of what I was talking about with loyalty contracts. You're talking Adrian Claiborne with Jason Peters out there. Jason Peters is 78 years old. He doesn't even hit a pass. Like there is no pass rush move that happens here. All it is an outside swim. I learned that in high school. You're talking basic, bare bones pass rush moves that you're getting absolutely smoked by. I think this is the safety. And you're talking about him working through a double team at that. On top of that, you know, there's Samalo picking up. He notices that, Vernon's getting inside leverage, and Jason Peters turns into a turnstile. And then I can't say it enough how many 4-man rushes get through. If I have 5 offensive linemen and 4 guys are rushing, why can I not block?
Yeah, there is nothing fancy going on.
Yeah, you got Bobby Wagner coming out and covering the running back, and 4 guys rushing. And there, look at this, Smallo. Who are you looking to block, bud? This is on Carson. He has to throw the ball. I don't think he was down before the ref blew it dead, but at the same time, I don't care at this point.
Yeah,
the
right
offense
there.
needs to learn how to block.
That pump fake, he needed to let it go.
Yeah, but they blew it dead right here. Even though he busts out of it, they blew it dead right there. But still, that ball should be out already. Yeah, well, you're asking a tight end to come in and block one of the better pass rushers in the NFL, and look at that whiff, dude.
Instant. There's a second.
I mean, KJ Wright's no slouch. You can't be blocking a tight end with, look at this. Watch him lunge on this. He gets clear off his feet. That's how hard he tries to hit him. Whoop. Oh. This is at whenever Lane's ankle was acting up. Hope for a speedy recovery for him, because this is what we're going to get if not.
Oh my god.
And
hey, Mom,
it's so
go
funny,
Browns.
man.
Unbelievable. Did you see all the times the Browns got after Wentz?
It's so funny, man, because oh, yep. Look how bad he's getting his head over his feet.
He's scared. He's scared.
Yeah.
I'd be scared too if I had those guys blocked for me. I'd be scared.
I know, but that's your livelihood, man. I would be scared personally because I'm 160 pounds, but I'm not, getting paid millions of dollars to block people either. I haven't been doing this my whole life. Obviously, ball should be out by now.
Oh, yeah.
I think Wentz is actually trying to escape and make something happen, but there's 4 guys on him.
$58. He's getting annihilated.
68's Pryor, Matt Pryor. Come on, man. You're letting everybody and their brother through the line. And then I did a count here at the end. So I did blame Wentz on several of them. Obviously, it doesn't add up to 52 because some of the plays can add up to O-line coverage or coverage and Wentz. Wentz should just throw it away or whatever. So you figure 15 of those 52 are on Wentz. 38 is the offensive line. And that can be attributed to, your starting second and third string guys. But at the same time, man, I'd be seeing ghosts at that point too. I can't help it.
Yeah, no, that was actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, and on top of that, it doesn't count the QB hits where he got hit 116 times this year.
So now the reason why I think he would have been after watching that, because that's the second time, probably the third time I've watched it. Watched it twice as you kept posting it. The reason why I thought he'd be a good fit in New England because our offense is 3-step dropbacks, a lot of play action, just better blocking, better identifying who's rushing, stuff like that. Where he's not going to hold the ball that long, and a lot of it is just short passes.
That's my big complaint with Doug Peterson is his failure to adjust through that part of the season. Going into these games, you knew you were starting backups and backups to block for this man. And on top of that, you're calling 4 verts on 4th and 3. You're running 5-step drops on 2nd and 4. Doug is as much responsible for his firing as the rest of the team is.
Oh yeah. And then while you were playing that, I kind of just because I had already looked it up before earlier in the week to see how ridiculous this was. Looking at his weapons that he had to play with, his leading receiver is Fulgham with in yardage is 539. But he only has 38 catches.
From 38 catches, and he only played in 9 games.
Well, he probably started in 9, but it says 13. He probably came in, got injured, or whatever the case was. Yeah. And then you got Goddard in 11 games, 524. That's your second receiver. And then you got Greg, I think it's Greg Ward.
Yep. Greg Ward Jr.
Yeah, 419 yards in 16 games.
He was a converted quarterback at that.
Oh, nice. That's your that third best receiver in 16 games, 419 yards. And then your number one, your first round pick, Rager, 396 in 11 games. Whether he actually played or not, he was in attendance for 11 games.
Yeah, he was the lowest total receiving first round wide receiver out of like every single receiver who was picked in the first round besides one person. And if I remember right, that player was on IR up until like week 15.
I think Henry Ruggs did this in one game against the Chiefs. The stats that I see here from Rager. So, I mean, like, this is what Wentz has had to work with. So, for people saying that Wentz was trash, this is what he had to work with. Like, this is like the same. I mean, the only team that this is better than is probably New England, and they got me out there in New England throwing at receiver. Like, this isn't good.
Yeah, and on top of that, you want to talk about not surrounding him with weapons. He has yet to have a 1,000-yard receiver in his career.
Oh,
talking 5 seasons.
Jeffrey didn't have 1,000 yards that first year.
His highest total was like 858.
Never mind. Brady has had 1,000-yard receiver.
That's the most, second most to Zach Ertz in their record-setting season that he's had. And I think Ertz still had like 917 and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why I'd be interested in Ertz. I don't know what in my Patriots like rebuild video, he's, I even put there, see the value of Ertz, like see what he's gonna cost. Because if he's like because Belichick, he's gonna go cheap, especially with what he offered for Stafford. He offered like a second and a player I've never heard of for Stafford. So for Ertz, he's gonna offer like a fifth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now that the Wentz market has been set in Philadelphia and knows what people are offering at this point, like, why not reapproach and be like, hey, let me get Wentz and Zach Ertz, and I'll give you my 1 this year and a future third. Because it's more than they're getting as we speak. The Colts are offering 2 seconds and a future 4th, if I remember right.
Oh, I just heard 2 seconds. I didn't even hear about the 4th. That's probably the best they're going to get.
Yeah, if they're looking for immediate value, there's really nothing else out there.
Honestly, if they wait until the draft, they might get something better as players come off the board. But yeah, no, I think the Eagles should have taken the 2 seconds.
That's the thing is, he's due a roster bonus on the 17th of March. That is 3 weeks before the NFL draft. So you're going to pay him his $10 million roster bonus and then trade him 3 weeks later?
I don't know. Eagles, not too bright. No. The Patriots got three thirds in this draft, I think. I'm surprised they don't just offer a second and a third. Because the way I have it set up for the Pats in the draft, we're either taking a tight end, Freiermuth in the second round. I mean, at least I'm hoping so if he's still available. Might as well just go in see if you can get Ertz for a third, or because I'm all in on Mac Jones at this point. So if you want Wentz, see if you could get a second and 2/3 or something for Wentz and Ertz.
Yeah, I mean and I think at this point that's a realistic package that you can expect. Like everybody wants to say that Philadelphia is not coming off unless they get 2 first-round picks, and that's blasphemy. That they'll be hard pressed to get 1 first-round pick and it be a future pick at that. Unless
If they're
they
getting a first, I think Ertz has to be a part of the deal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Unless you have Zach Ertz in that deal, you're not even flirting with the idea of having a first this year.
Yeah. TNO. Oh, the reason why, I think the Colts with Frank Reich is the best fit for Wentz. I'm just saying New England because New England. I'm only saying New England is because of the system that we run. It's instead of holding on to the ball for 20 seconds, it's 3-step dropbacks. If your first 2 options aren't available, you're probably throwing it away. That's not playing hero ball the entire season with.
Yeah, he was running scared a lot of the time, and that's what we spoke briefly before you started the live or whatever. I said if there's one guy in the league that would fix Carson Wentz, it would be Bill Belichick, just because of the system that they run. It's a 3-step drop. They have a good line, shifty receivers to get open quick. Where Philadelphia doesn't have they have an aging, injured offensive line that was good in their heyday. They have deep threat receivers who have a hard time getting off press man, and defenses scheme for that, and that's you saw it as the year went on how disrespected our wide receivers were because they can't get off press.
So your big signing of the Super Bowl run, Alshon Jeffrey, for the season, 6 receptions, and Deshaun Jackson, who I was actually really excited to see with Wentz. How many games did he even play? He played 5 games. And he probably did one of the games. He caught a touchdown pass and got benched because of some apparent injury that happened. But in the 5 games that he played, 14 receptions. So this is the talent they were putting around Wentz and hoping he would succeed.
And to add on to that, that's 26. What is it? $26.4 million in cap space for what was it? 20 catches.
For a Jeffrey and Jackson?
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey caught that touchdown pass.
So you're talking over $1 million per catch.
And those guys, wait, none of those 2 catches, those 2 touchdowns came from Hurts. They didn't even come from Wentz.
Yep.
But this is
Djax's was the Cowboys game to end the season. It was that nice. I think it was an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it was the last game of the season, and then he got hurt. I forgot the injury that they mentioned.
Abdomen. And then Jeffries was on like a back shoulder fade that Hurts made a really good throw on. I'll give him that, but he got clapped on that play too.
Yeah. So the whole argument with Hurts being better than Wentz because the team gets a boost from playing with other quarterbacks, it's just no, they just gave up on Wentz at that point. It's not like because the play calling when Hurts came out there was different. Miles Sanders immediately had a 100-yard rushing game. But there's no way you're going to tell me somebody that is throwing for 95 yards a game is better than somebody that's out there throwing for 250.
No, and that's the thing is the expectations were a lot lower whenever Hurts came in. Everybody gave him the benefit of the doubt because he's a second-round rookie, and I am a victim of that as well. I wouldn't say it's a victim mindset, but you don't have the highest expectations whenever a rookie steps on the field like you do whenever a guy that was second in the MVP voting 3 years ago steps onto the field.
Yeah. Oh, we agree, Nano. Don't worry. We agree. They should have been gone last year. Jeffrey and Jackson. But what was I gonna say? I'm gonna say something else. You mentioned. Oh, and even then, Hurts got sacked 13 times in like the 3 games that he played. Just
3.5 games.
Yeah, you got sacked 13
and that
times.
That was a mobile quarterback. You're talking about a young guy who's very shifty with no lower extremity injuries.
Yeah.
So, it was just bad. It was a very bad offensive year. I think we were 30th in the NFL in points scored per game, and we were 26th in points allowed per game. So
Yeah, that's
that's a recipe for disaster.
and for people that because a lot of people know about the struggles that New England faced on offense, that they're right there neck and neck with each other, and New England actually has like we didn't even have a quarterback, and the Eagles just didn't even have they didn't their offense the same level as offense. Like that was the same level because they had no O line, they had no weapons. Their best weapons were Ertz and Goddard, and they were both hurt. And when the season started, when Goddard went off, I was already telling people they're grooming Goddard because they're not gonna sign Ertz. They're not gonna keep him.
Yeah.
So when he didn't get
And
his
Ertz wants
contract,
that big money deal.
yeah, once Ertz didn't get that contract, and the first game of the season, because my boy had Goddard on his fantasy team, and he went off because he actually had both Goddard and Ertz and was playing both. So I'm like, Ertz didn't get the ball, so I'm just assuming Goddard's getting those Ertz touches because they're just grooming him at that point.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz is a big fan of the tight ends. Obviously, Ertz set the record for most receptions by a tight end in a season. Broke Jason Witten's record. So we all know how much Wentz loves his tight ends. So it was an obvious plug and play, especially with where they drafted Goddard.
Yeah, and then you gotta like I'm cool with you grooming one, like at least bringing his value up or getting his touches, but like Ertz is his favorite target. You kind of want him to be happy if you plan to build around Wentz. So even going into the season, you can already tell they weren't really building around Wentz.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people said is the writing was on the wall whenever we drafted Ertz that Wentz was not going to be here long term. Howie can spew his mouth as much as he wants. That's our general manager for those of you who don't know. But Howie can spew his mouth as much as he wants, saying that it was just assurance, it was an insurance policy. But everybody knew as soon as he took Hurts that he was going to hitch his wagon to Hurts, and that's inevitably what happened.
Yeah, so like confidence wise, which is plays a huge part in as a quarterback. That's gonna. For Aaron Rodgers, it fueled Aaron Rodgers when you took a quarterback that high. But for Wentz, who you didn't even, it didn't seem like they were high on anyway. You take a quarterback, that's not gonna help his confidence at all.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people said is it showed, how he showed his hand a little too soon. Whereas he probably could have waited a year to see how 2020 played out without Hurts on the roster. Because I'm not trying to say that you can find a Jalen Hurts in every draft, but you can find a backup quarterback in every draft. And regardless of the struggles and regardless of everything, nobody can say in the right mind that they projected this type of decline for Wentz in 2020 whenever he was taking Greg Ward, Deontay Burnett, and a couple Richard Rodgers to the playoffs last season.
This guy's had Burnett. I was like, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I still got the ESPN list up there's so many different receivers.
Yeah, and that's another thing is I'm not going to pretend like injuries didn't play a part in it, and that's what a lot of people everybody wants to skew it to Wentz is the issue and blah, blah, blah. They had no continuity along anything.
Oh, they had 13 different players with a reception here.
Yeah. And I'm sure Boston Scott's probably in like the top 7.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Wait, I miscounted. That's not 13. 18 different players caught a reception. Not 13, 18. And Richard Rodgers
like I said,
is fifth. Richard Rodgers is fifth in yards.
Yeah, Richard Rodgers, the same Richard Rodgers who is 28 years old but feels like he's played in the NFL for years because everybody forgot about him whenever he left Green Bay.
I didn't even know he left Green Bay.
That Richard Rodgers.
Yeah. When I found the list, I didn't even know he left Green Bay.
So I'm sure you're very familiar with Corey Clement, given Super Bowl 52 touchdown catch. He hasn't played the last 2 seasons, and he made the roster.
Yeah, it says here 15 games played, 5 receptions.
Yeah, 15 games played. He hasn't played for 2 years, but we want to keep him on the roster.
75 rushing yards though, so he did that.
Yeah, he did something.
And so you run 2 running backs obviously you got Sanders with close to 900 yards, but you got Boston Scott with 374 as your second leading.
And that's what we communicated all off season. And then whenever the Dolphins, I want to say, cut Jordan Howard, and we picked him up, everybody was clamoring for the combo that happened. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how closely you follow Philly or whatever, but Miles Sanders' rookie season, his first touchdown was on a 74-yard run.
Mm-hmm.
That it was a split back set with Howard on one side, Sanders on the other, and Howard was basically just his lead blocker all the way down the field for a 74-yard touchdown. And that's what everybody was saying, is we needed a power back like Jordan Howard, and then we didn't give him the ball. He barely saw the field. I think he had 3 carries all year.
He had, I mean, he had 7, but that's not enough. He only played 2 games this year.
Yeah, he didn't suit up for 4 of those.
Corey Clement suited up for 15, but barely saw the field. Yeah.
So you're talking about a complete mismanagement of the roster. Not only do you not have the talent, but where you do have the talent, you're not
using them, right?
Allowing them to play.
Yeah. Either that the play calling just doesn't suit the skills of the players.
It started off as a West Coast offense. Everybody was very excited to get back to a 3-step drop at most and fire, especially with Wentz coming in, because that's what he excelled at in North Dakota State. We knew he had a good deep ball coming out, but Doug Peterson just fell in love with it, and it's all we ran this year. It felt like every single play was like a PA seam or like a PA bootleg right with like a 18-yard comeback route. Like, we don't have enough speed for guys. Like, by the time the guy's down the field on the bootleg, like Carson's getting smoked.
Yeah, he's getting hit. Yep. Looking at the video of him getting sacked, he had no time for any of those plays to develop.
No, and that's what a lot of people gave him fault on the one play that I highlighted where it showed the shallow cross with Rager and then Ward kind of sat down in the center of the field.
Yeah.
Leighton Vander Esch was literally in his face by the time he would have wound up for that throw anyways.
So that's where a lot of people are saying he'll fit with Frank Reich, because obviously, adjustments will be there in terms of offensive play calling. They have the skill position players. They actually have a running back they can rely on. Not saying you can't rely on Miles Sanders, but it's already proven you can rely on Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Or even if you come to New England, you got like 4 different running backs. I hope they rebuild the receiving core, because that is just but they're if they get anybody that they're rumored for, you already have the running backs, so it would fit with Wentz. He just has to adjust his game a little bit, and we already know the Patriots are good at just adjusting on the fly anyway. So that's why I felt we both feel Wentz would be a good fit in New England. We both don't think that he's 100% trash or finished. That's we're gonna think that's false. Whether even though that's opinion.
The big thing with Wentz is building through the trenches, and New England's done a good job of maintaining a good offensive line. And I think once he becomes familiar with the blocking schemes and becomes familiar with the offense, you'll see a new level of Carson Wentz coming back to like that MVP status. And like I said earlier, everybody has a down season. Aaron Rodgers had, I think it was like 15 touchdowns to 21 interceptions his 5th year in the league. It just so happens to line up that was his 5th year.
Rodgers was that bad? I don't remember that year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
People only remember him as just the guy that's just throwing under like 7 picks a year. I don't even remember that 20-pick season.
Yeah.
And even then, coming into the season, a lot of people had Rodgers as finished. So sometimes it's, and that was the first year with the new head coach that they have. That was the first year. So this being the second year, yeah. So sometimes you just either you need a new system, because they had man, I'm so bad with names. Their previous coach,
McCarthy.
Yes, him. He's sometimes you just need a new coach, a new system, and time in the system, because obviously Rodgers' second season in the new system, MVP. Sometimes that's all that's needed. So maybe Wentz just needs new location,
needs a fresh start, man. Yeah, I've
It's
been saying that.
it's worked for some teams. It worked for Favre when he was like 50 in Minnesota. It's worked for Ryan Tannehill. Sure, he had Gase, but it worked for Tannehill. He's balling out now. It worked for Mariota on
Yeah,
the Raiders. The one game he played, he looked different and he looked really good. That was not a
and
Mariota we saw
that's what
previously.
it takes, man.
Yeah,
Sometimes you see some organizational dysfunction, and it creates dissension in your mind, whether you understand it or not. But you know, your mind is programmed to react a certain way to dysfunction, and obviously Carson Wentz can see the dysfunction. So I hope he is granted his trade because I am tired of seeing him suffer in Philly.
yeah, and I think once they start, I guess the third rebuild, we'll be building. A lot of people are saying they should take another quarterback in the draft,
No,
which I don't.
too early for that.
Yeah, we haven't even given Hurts a fair shot. Granted, I was kind of sold on Hurts too because he saved me. I think it was week 15 in fantasy. He had like 40
Yeah,
points against the Cardinals. I was just like, oh, this kid's nice. I
yeah.
didn't watch the game. I didn't realize that was his only good game of the season. But I was like, oh, this kid's nice because then you saw he had 100 yards rushing. Sanders had 100 yards rushing.
2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, and then you saw Alshon Jeffrey catching a touchdown pass, so you can kind of see the team just plays better under different quarterbacks because the play calling just feels different.
It is, it's a dumbed down version of it. They play to the strengths of Hertz where they don't play to the strengths of Wentz. Wentz is, his dime dollar is a short slant over the middle of the field, and you know, we're not seeing that. We're seeing him have to strip down and throw 60 yards because we have three speed guys on the field who can't run routes. Um, they like to throw a package out there this year with it was Les Watkins, John Hightower, and Deshaun Jackson. So you're talking about Old Haggard and two rookies
Hmm?
just because they're fast and they want to run straight down the field like they don't know what they're running already. You have your three speed guys and you take your top three receivers off the field at once, and obviously we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think it was the game that they did win where I watched some of it and the play calling looked different. I was already tweeting at the Eagles like, where was this play calling all year? I'm pretty sure. I know Wentz isn't going to take off and run like Jalen Hurts did, but you can see the difference in play calling. And I was already tweeting at the Eagles, where was this play calling all year? Because I know y'all would have been a lot better had you actually adjusted the play calling, which happened.
And I don't even want to say that we would have been so much better. It just wouldn't have been so painful to watch. Like it was. I honestly feel like this season took like years off my life just because it was like it wasn't even that bad of a season. We weren't 0-16 or anything. Thank God. But it was painful to watch every game. Even the wins were very painful wins. It just felt you didn't feel right after you wake up on Monday after a win. You're like, oh yeah, victory Monday, let's go get the week started, kind of thing. It didn't even feel like that. It felt kind of like a painful wake up.
I,
Like,
I
oh
know. I think it was like two of the wins. Well, one of the wins against the Eagles came from a drop pass from Evan Ingram. So even then, it took I think a couple of two of the games that Wentz won were like last drive kind of game. So even then, like
yeah, and that's what the one of the Giants games went to overtime. So on top of the Ingram drop pass, we won the other one in OT off of a absolute dart that went through in the back of the end zone. Like if if I'm watching that game, I look and I'm like, can Jalen Hurts make that pass?
you know,
Will he make that pass, or is he going to take off and run after his first read?
there was a couple of passes that Wentz made. I was like, oh, see, he still has it. It's just not consistent enough. And yeah, you're right. Can Hurts make that kind of throw? Which we
Yeah, I go
haven't.
back to so a lot of people like to bring up that if Wentz doesn't have it anymore, blah blah blah. And I go back to the Week 17 game last year against Washington, I think it was, and you see Wentz. It's a play action. Miles slips out to the left and wraps all the way out and around to the corner of the end zone, and Wentz is rolling out that entire time. And you see two defenders coming and collapsing on him, and while he's on the run, He takes 1 step, 2 step, throws it sidearm, and it literally is like a missile coming out of this dude's arm. Blows past 3 defenders all along the sideline straight into Miles Sanders' gut, and he taps his 2 feet, and it like hits and knocks him clean over. That's how hard he threw the ball off of one leg while he was rolling to his right. That's what I go back to. And that was 2019. We're talking one season removed from that. It doesn't just disappear like that in one off season.
No, especially when he was actually healthy this season. So it's like the talent is still there. You just gotta unlock it again.
You gotta get him confident.
Which they did a terrible job trying to do, because I would not be confident if I'm running for my life every game. Not me.
Every play, it felt like.
Yeah, because I would probably start seeing ghosts.
Yeah. Pull that Sam Darnold out, man.
When he said that, I was like, what even happened? Because I don't remember him getting hit like that, but I'm guessing he was just pressured so much where it just felt like it.
Yeah, it was funny because that was right before the Eagles game too, and that was right before he went down with mono. Ultimately, we played against Luke Falk, was the kid's name. And I was like, yo, if you would have went up against our defense, like, because I think it was some slouch defense too. I think it was like the Giants before they signed like the decent linebackers they have. I was like, yo, I think it was the Battle of New York if I remember right. And I was like, you go up against this defensive line, you're gonna, because we have a good defensive line, we have good trenches whenever everybody's healthy.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So like, I was like, you go up against Philly, like we're gonna crush you.
Yeah, and then they ended up benching him for a while. He wasn't even supposed to come back, and then they brought him back and further ruined.
Yeah, the mono thing or whatever.
Yeah. So the next topic we have was how the team costed Wentz, and that's in terms of the talent they put around him constantly.
Yeah, so I'll go back to sharing my screen again because I have it pulled up.
Go for it.
But
there we go.
So stuff with G Wiz, I got bored one day. I had just got back from Turkey, had a bunch of time off, and I was like, man, like I'm tired of these drafts being terrible. I was like, I wonder really how bad it is, and I shouldn't have,
And this is the
realm.
This is the GM's history, right?
Yes. So this is the current
Howie Roseman,
general manager. This is his 10-year history of his drafts. So universally in 2010, whenever Graham got drafted, everybody hated it, and up until probably like 2014, Graham was that guy who just kind of like stuck around, made enough plays to stick around.
He was pretty solid.
Never did anything great.
Yeah, he was serviceable.
Yeah, up until we went into a 4-3 defense, because up until that we had been in a 3-4, and he was running as a defensive end in that 3-4. So whenever a 3-4 sets, you have one defensive tackle who sits over the center, the defensive ends sit over the guards, and then you have 2 edge rushers as your linebackers.
Yeah.
So he was an undersized guy coming out who had ran in a 4-3 at Michigan, and it just never really clicked for him until, like I said, whenever Chip Kelly got fired and Doug came in. But so I won't go pick by pick, but you can see some of the guys that we've missed on. Brandon Graham, I wouldn't consider a miss.
I already saw Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, so you see Gronk right there off of Nate Allen, who's no longer in the league. This cat never even made the team. And you're passing on guys like Jimmy Graham, Navarro Bowman, Eric Decker, Mike Kafka of all players. You take a tight end in Clay Harbor in the 4th round over Cam Chancellor. Riley Cooper over Antonio Brown, which, universally the league wasn't high on Antonio Brown, but look where he's at now. And then some of the like undrafted free agents here, that's just in one off season too, on top of that. Danny Watkins was picked over, countless countless guys.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly. Danny Watkins was an offensive guard that we reached for. Nobody super notable like Curtis Marsh. Like he actually made some plays, but you're taking him over guys like KJ Wright. Quint Bowling was in the league for like 8 years.
Deion Lewis. What a name.
Dion Lewis over Richard Sherman.
I mean, he didn't work in Philly, but he worked for us just fine.
Yeah, obviously he worked out, and that's another thing with Howie Roseman is like going back to 2010. Like we brought in Alejandro Villanueva as an undrafted free agent. Like you're talking about guys that you have in the building that you're still missing on. We brought in Alejandro Villanueva as a defensive end, and he turns out to be the stalwart left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only are you bad at evaluating talent, the talent that you do bring in, you don't know how to utilize it, and it's like I said, it's bad. This is one of the lone drafts that I actually enjoyed from Howie. 112, Fletcher just kind of fell in our lap. He was supposed to go like top 5, but had like a last minute like ankle injury or something. Michael Kendrick stuck around with us long enough to get an extension, but you're taking him over guys like Bobby Wagner and Levante David. Vinny Curry's still with us, but you go out in free agency and have to sign Brandon Brooks, and then Russell Wilson goes, Casey Hayward goes, Osemele goes, Olivier Vernon, who just tore you up. Nick Foles, you take him. T.Y. Hilton could have been on this roster for Wentz to throw to. Brandon Boykin's not even in the league anymore, and you got guys like Josh Norman, Malik Jackson, who's with us. The list goes on. And that's 2013. Lane was the unanimous pick. He's still with us. But going back to this draft, this was Chip Kelly's first draft. So Chip Kelly got us Lane Johnson. Chip Kelly got us Zach Ertz. Kenny Logan was on the Super Bowl team. Obviously the later picks kind of fell off, but you're not looking at too much impact. Obviously Bakhtiari is nasty. JC Tretter's nasty. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, you're looking at guys that contributed to your Super Bowl run here. So I don't really count too much of that. Now, Matt Barkley, you're taking Matt Barkley over Bakhtiari and J.C. Tretter. Kyle Juszczyk, I'd even take him as a fullback over what Matt Barkley gave us. Earl Wolf, who's no longer in the league. Joe Kruger, Jordan Poyer's with the Bills now, and he was, a Pro Bowler 2 years ago. But, we cut him.
And like you missed on Bouye.
Yeah. These are the undrafted guys from that as well, so you can't even bring in, quality talent after you miss on talent.
I was so high on Jordan Matthews. So high on him.
Yeah, and that a lot of people were, man, because he's, the SEC leader in career receiving yards or whatever. But you're taking him over guys like Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, Jarvis Landry. Like, come on, man. I know Chris Borland didn't play long into his career because of his concussion issues, but like I even would have took Chris Borland over Jordan Matthews.
You never know, different team, different system. Maybe he doesn't get those concussions.
Yeah. Josh Huff, Jalen Watkins, Taylor Hart, Ed Reynolds, no longer in the league. Bo Allen stuck with us for the Super Bowl run and then, flamed out. 2015, Chip Kelly again, Aguilar's still in the league. Eric Rowe still is in the league. He plays for the Dolphins now. Hicks got a mega deal.
And Eric Rowe was a part of New England too. He was great.
Yep. Then you look at some of the undrafted free agents. We brought in Raheem Mostert. He played the second half of a Week 17 game and had 2 touchdowns, and we cut him 2 weeks later. And catches on with San Fran, and now he's setting the world on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at 2016, obviously you're taking Carson Wentz no matter what. That's what you traded up to 102 to do. So, let's look from here on out after how they tried to help him out. You get Isaac Seumalo. He is still your left guard, but you're taking him over guys like Javon Hargrave, Justin Simmons, Joe Schobert. Tyler Higbee could be another pick for him. DeMarcus Robinson, Blake Martinez, Jordan Howard, Matt Ioannidis. Like, you're talking about real impact right there, and you get a average left guard at that. Wendell Smallwood, there was really nobody available. Joe Haig is like a sixth lineman, so we'll watch that. Uh, Big V, he actually helped us on the Super Bowl run. He was our starting left tackle whenever Peters went out. So you're getting the impact there, but are you getting the impact that you would get from a Tyreek Hill or like a Wes Schweitzer or like a DJ Reader type of player?
Rashard Higgins.
Yeah, Rashard Higgins had 6 touchdowns this year. Like, like I said, it's just endless. We'll go on. Obviously, we finished 7-9. Our very first pick is Derek Barnett. After you get a franchise quarterback, your first round pick is a defensive end when you already have 2 edge rushers under contract. And then you look at some of the names that could have been Eagles at that point, and you're looking at some serious impact. Budda Baker's the highest paid safety in the league right now because of his impact. Dalvin Cook, Curtis Samuel, Evan Ingram, and that's just, you're just talking offensive guys at this point. Ryan Ramczyk, like, even get him a lineman, get him an offensive lineman. I'm fine with that. And then after that, you want to double down and use back-to-back picks on guys that are no longer on your roster, but excelling in other teams. So let's go ahead and see, with Sidney Jones, you look at a guy like Juju was still there. You look at Cooper Kupp was still there, Cameron Sutton, Kenny Golladay. That's 5 guys who could have been immediate impacts on this team and helped Wentz push his game to the next level.
Godwin, Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, you're talking Alvin Kamara at that. Like, Jonnu Smith, Eddie Jackson was still there as a safety. Dede Westbrook would have been an upgrade at what we had at the time. James Conner was there because we didn't have a running back. Zach Hollins is still in the league, but caught on in Miami. Like, we could have had Tariq Cohen. It's, you're Donnell Pumphrey not in the league anymore. That's a 4th round pick from what, 4 drafts ago. That's no longer in the league, but you took him over guys like Anthony Walker Jr., who's the starting middle linebacker for the Lincoln Colts.
George Kittle.
Passed on George Kittle. Passed on Desmond King, Marlon Mack, Ryan Switzer, Jamal Williams. Like I said, the list is absolutely endless with how disrespectful they have been to Wentz. Even taking Dallas Goedert. You had Zach Ertz already, so we traded down from 32. That's whenever Baltimore took Lamar Jackson at 32 from us. Obviously, we didn't have a whole lot of picks, so I'm completely fine with the trade down. These are the names that were still available on the board at 249. Jesse Bates, Darius Geis, DJ Chark, Fred Warner, Justin Reed, Derek Nottie. Orlando Brown Jr. is in his own right a monster at left tackle. That
Andrews.
It's a bat. Mark Andrews, Ronnie Harrison, like Naheem Hines even would be an upgrade over our second running back right now. Avonte Maddox, he's more of like a slot guy. He played on the outside for us, but there's not a ton of impact down here. You're probably looking at like Jalen Samuels, Jordan Wilkins, MVS, but nothing super crazy.
You guys actually have Boston Scott, right?
Yeah, we have Boston Scott. Matt Pryor, you saw him numerous times in the thread get absolutely smoked. And, these are all guys that were available whenever you picked.
On
top of, JC right there for you guys. Like,
Alan Lazard, it's not bad.
2019, you go out and you think, hey, JP's going to retire. We'll draft a left tackle. You can't even do that right. Andre Dillard has played 5 games in his career with us, and been atrocious every game. And you're missing on guys like AJ Brown for him, Marquise Brown, Josh Jacobs. Rocky Sin in his own right is playing well. Debo, John Murphy Bunting just won a Super Bowl.
He made me a fan.
Greedy.
He made me a fan. If there's a player not on my team that I'm a fan of, it's him.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you look back and you see how you were evaluating players at that point, and you're like, yeah, I pulled this out. And going back to this pick right here, I was absolutely in shock. I was super high on TJ Watt that year just because of how well he rushes the passer. And Dalvin Cook. I thought Dalvin Cook was going to be, our guy going in the future.
That's
And
huge mess.
Obviously, they saw something that I didn't. But he hasn't been. We're talking about cutting him. We picked up his 5th-year option, but we're talking about cutting him as like a cap casualty kind of thing because he's underperformed. And then Miles Sanders, perfect pick. No complaints. That is the guy that should have been the pick. I'm very thankful that he was there. But then you follow it up 4 picks later. It's very rare that a team has 2 second-round picks. So you want to follow it up with some impact, and you take JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Kind of like we talked about earlier, you had no clue who he was because he's been non-existent in the Eagles offense to this point. And you took him over this guy.
Terry McLaurin.
Yep. I mean, the list goes on and on between our 57 and 138 pick. And then you follow up Arcega-Whiteside with a guy who you put on the practice squad his first season and then cut after the season. And he signed with the practice squad and never plays. He doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, I don't
over
Hunter Renfrow.
Over Mac Wilson, Menahue, and then you panic pick and think I don't have a backup quarterback under contract, so you take Clayton Thorson, who never threw an NFL pass in his life, over Darius Slayton, over Gardner Minshew, over Travis Fulgham, who ultimately ended up with the team, but countless misses. Again, 2020 we took Reagor. I will leave the jury out on our 2020 class. Obviously, Hurts is going to have some serious impact on the team, whether it be good or bad. But even then, if you wanted to surround Wentz with the right tools, you had every opportunity in the world to go do so. And
I don't think I saw anybody on that list.
Yeah, and that's kind of what what I'm getting at is we had so many opportunities to go in and create impact for our quarterback and pass on it on every opportunity. So Carson is not done by any means, but I also am a firm believer that he deserves better than what Philadelphia has given him.
When you watching, because I know the Eagles, they were won Super Bowl and they were relevant for a while, so they were somewhat successful. When you look at teams that are successful, but they have chances to get better, as we saw with the Eagles and all of their misses. Teams can always get better in the draft. The amount of misses they get. So when you look at obviously like my team, New England, the amount of times they miss in the draft but are still good, it's actually ridiculous. Same thing with the Eagles. They won a Super Bowl, and I think I saw in 10 years maybe 5 good picks.
Yeah, you're talking. All right, so I can probably name 6, and one of those drafts was a Chip Kelly draft. So you're looking at Brandon Graham has impact on the team still. You're looking at Lane Johnson has impact on the team. Miles Sanders, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, but that's another Chip Kelly pick, right? Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Ertz was a Chip Kelly pick, and Fletcher Cox. Those are your 6 that create impact.
And half of them are from Chip Kelly, who had 2 years.
Yeah, Chip Kelly had 2 drafts, and he picked just as many Pro Bowlers in his 2 years as Howie has in the last 6.
Was Howie the one in charge of dynasty that you guys supposedly had, or was that Chip Kelly?
That was Howie.
I don't even know how he got another chance after that.
Yeah,
because I watched the video on the Namdi signing, and how bad that was scheme wise. Because I always wondered whatever happened to Namdi, because I was one of those. I was like, yo, this is nice. You got, your backup is Vince Young. You got Namdi Asamoah on one side, and you got Asante Samuel on the other. But they were two different type of corners.
Yeah, and that's what everybody likes to point at the Namdi signing as, the complete massacre of that. What if you here? I'll share my screen one more time because I have that full off season broken down. Let's see. There we go. So this was that draft, if I remember right. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah, right here. So look at some of these contracts. You signed Colin Jenkins. Colin Jenkins was like a 1-year wonder out of the Falcons. You signed him to a $30 million contract off of one good season. Namdi, obviously, great corner.
No,
Did not fit the scheme whatsoever.
Yeah, he was the best corner at the time, and that ended up being an awful sign.
Jason Babin. You know who Jason Babin is?
I remember his name. I remember that.
He was an offensive guard for, who was it? I want to say it was like the Lions or something. But you signed him to a, $5.1 million contract.
I'm
guard.
trying to remember where he is. See, now I gotta look this
up. This time. So you're looking at, you give him almost half of the contract that you gave Namdi.
Oh, Babin was the defensive end out of Houston.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember him being somewhat successful on the previous team. Evan Mathis, same thing. I think he was out of the Colts, right? Or is that the
yeah? Right, so Evan Mathis was a good offensive guard. He was injured a lot, so we got it for cheap. And then immediately the next offseason, you give him a shit contract and you pay him $7 million a year to play 2 more seasons with you.
And I saw Ronnie Brown. He was old at the time. And he was
Ronnie Brown was that was his last season in the NFL.
I think he was a starter too, right? The starting running back.
Yep. Yeah, and then you look at the season previous, and it's like you were probably better off leaving Asante with like a Sheldon Brown.
Yeah, he was pretty solid
they fit as corners.
Yeah, he was solid.
Yeah, and we traded him.
He was the one that
came off season.
What was it, him or Dawkins that got that hit on Reggie Bush?
Oh, that was Lito Shepherd.
Lito Shepherd. Okay, yeah. See, y'all always had talent. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, and just like right now, we have talent in the secondary, like Darius Slay. You're talking about probably a top 6 corner in the league, and he got abused every week.
Yeah, because everybody else was hurt all over the place, and
exactly, you have no help over the top, and which is pathetic to say. I hate using the injuries as an excuse because Detroit was a terrible team, and he played better in Detroit. It all comes down to scheme. Jim Schwartz plays a terrible scheme.
I forgot that was your court. And he was a part of Detroit's horrendous scheme too.
He was a part of the 0-16 season.
Yeah, I mean he was pretty, but yeah. Then again, you guys had a bunch of injuries, but in the Super Bowl run, the team was pretty solid under.
Yeah, even at that. Well, not even then. If you look at the Super Bowl, we gave up a record amount of yards in the Super Bowl to you guys. We gave up 518 yards, which is a Super Bowl record for the most yards given up.
But that's just the Brady effect.
I get it, but even at that, you can't. It all came down to one stop. It was an offensive onslaught on both sides, and it came down to the fumble by Brandon Graham. That's the only way we won that game.
And I tell people all the time, we didn't have Julian Edelman. Brandon Cooks got injured in the first quarter, so that was just Brandon.
Edelman was there.
No, he was hurt. He tore his ACL at the beginning of the season.
Oh, that's right. It was Amendola, I think.
It was Amendola, Chris Hogan, and Gronk. That was.
And Cooks got smoked by Malcolm early in the game.
That hurt because we were already missing a lot. See, now the thing is, with wondering what happens inside the locker room, I want to know what happened Malcolm Butler. I still need to know as
Yes,
as
oh,
a New
I
England
man.
fan. I need to know what happened. But obviously, Butler's a professional, and Belichick being Bill,
Yeah, and
that needs to be a 30 for 30 story.
I'm sorry, man. Like it's Super Bowl. I'll punish you game one of next season. I need to know what actually happened for him to make him sit in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't. And then I don't want to. I don't like bursting bubbles of fans that win. But it's like I tell my boy all the time. If Malcolm Butler plays one, we needed one stop. If we have Malcolm Butler, he gets us that one stop because we only needed one.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I mean that's what it was. Was it that the Logan Ryan Malcolm Butler combo?
we had Gilmore. He was our number 2 corner that year.
Gilmore, yeah.
And what upset
Oh,
me was because I think Logan Ryan was our third, or Patrick Chung, whoever was guarding, defending Alshon Jeffrey, because it wasn't Gilmore in the first half.
that was Eric Rowe.
Yeah, and he was too small.
Yeah,
And it upset me that after 1 quarter of Jeffrey lighting us up, I'm like, why isn't Gilmore on Jeffrey at this? Why do we need a whole
yeah.
2.5 quarters to realize maybe if we put our best corner on their best player, we can stop them? After that, Jeffrey didn't even touch the ball. It took us 2.5 quarters
Yeah,
to
and
figure that out.
it's kind of crazy too, because I remember all the stories coming out after the Super Bowl and everything else like that. Like, you know that big catch that Alshon made over Rowe in the back of the end zone,
Hmm?
where he had to like go up over top of him.
Yeah.
He did that with a torn labrum in his shoulder.
Who? Jeffrey?
Yeah,
Oh, that's insane. That's insane. But like Jeffrey was just doing that all season, so props to him. I was a fan of the signing for the Jeffrey because he was forgotten about in Chicago. He was just there wasting his time. Good for the Eagles for the two that Jeffrey had got for them. But I don't hear you right now. Ooh, did your headphones die?
hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Yeah, like looking back on this stuff, man, like I hate talking about the old Eagles, man, because I loved during the time period, man, but like you look at how quick they took a absolute tank.
I always tell people like team outside of New England because they're the only exception. Teams in the Super Bowl afterwards because a lot of their players they want the big contracts. So outside of New England, where the Patriot way, nobody's getting the big contract, and if they do, they're and it's next man up. Every other team, I told my boy 2 seasons after the Patriots beat the Falcons, I even told him the year after they might not be good again. So a lot of teams just take a huge nosedive once they get to the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I said earlier, like the loyalty thing, the loyalty effect, especially with it being Philly's first ship, like that I had to have played a factor in guys being like, yo, I won you your Super Bowl and you're not going to give me a contract kind of thing. Like, it had to have played an effect.
yeah, the loyalty contract coming in with the guys that have been there so long. So yeah, I can see that. Also guys just not hanging it up and they just want to stick around. Was it
Yep.
like Jason Peters?
Yep.
Probably should have retired and still there.
Yeah, because he didn't even play in the game. He was hurt.
And he ended up getting a loyalty contract.
Yeah.
But as a Patriots fan, there's always a few plays. There's always, those few plays where that I always remember. Obviously for each Super Bowl loss, because Malcolm just benching Malcolm Butler. That's not even a play. That's just the whole game. But the two that we lost to the Giants, you always look at when Welker dropped the pass in the fourth quarter. I didn't even care what happened after that. The game was over. I
Yeah.
already knew we lost. I got up and left. People were like, "Yo, there's still third down. There's still the Giants have to score." I'm like, "Another game." He dropped that. It's over.
It's a wrap.
And then you got the David Tyree catch over Rodney Harrison. Yeah, I tell people all the time. Before Richard Seymour tweeted it during the Super Bowl, during the postseason, he said that he got held. I even told people, like, yo, he's getting held by two guys. You know, if New England is getting all the calls, they called that because it was obvious. It is what it is. So there's...
Yeah. Really has quite a few. And I'm originally from Cleveland. Cleveland has quite a few of those, too.
I didn't really watch like when they signed Jarvis Landry, and then they got Baker. I was bandwagon a little bit, and then they got Odell. I was like, oh
yeah,
that's it. This is the team. They're gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, I go through.
Baker's not that good, man.
It's a lot of people saying that Baker's not that
like
good, but he doesn't have the, like, a full season. I mean, yeah, his first season with Odell wasn't bad, but like the second season, he got hurt. So like this was his second and a half season. Let's see what a third full season.
Yeah.
One of those.
It's and like Cleveland has like the drive where John Elway had to go 99 yards down the field to beat him. He did it. The fumble, like Ernest.
Pittsburgh has the tackle.
Yep. We have the rain delay in Game 7 of the World Series 2016. We have.
Who tweeted about that? Somebody tweeted about that, and I was like, "Wait, what rain delay? What are y'all talking about?" And then they said, "You know."
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Raji hit the game-tying home run. All the momentum was swinging, and we were in Cleveland. And man, it was a nightmare. And then we have the trophy. They started bringing like the '97 World Series. They brought the World Series trophy into the Indians locker room before the final out, and Jose Mesa blew it in the ninth. The Marlins won the World Series.
That was in '97.
It's like bad juju. And then the shot, Michael Jordan's infamous the shot over Mark Price.
That I remember. The trophies thing. I didn't know about that with the trophies.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's on. If you ever watched the SportsCenter 30 for 30s, Believeland is one of them. It's based on like the LeBron 3-1 comeback, but it shows all of the tragedies of Cleveland before that, man.
Yeah, other than LeBron, Cleveland is added rough.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, man. Like I still root for the Cavs and the Indians, but man, I can't do it with the Browns.
Luckily for me, I'm not one of those where, like, being from New York, I'm only a Yankee fan because my mom raised me a Yankee fan, but she didn't watch any other sport, and nobody else really watched like New York sports like that. So I was free to choose whoever I wanted. So I didn't start watching football until my first game was a 2002 Super Bowl, Patriots and Rams. Okay. I didn't know anything. So I went to, my stepfather brought me to a Super Bowl party, and everybody's asking, who you got? So the entire house picked the Rams. Me not knowing any better, I'm like, I guess I'll just go for the other team. Let's go Patriots. And they ended up winning, and the rest is history. So
okay.
Basketball. What game was I playing? I was in middle school. So going back like 20. I see Dallas Mavericks as my name is Maverick, so I'm just like, oh shit, I don't even know who these guys are. Yeah. And then I see Dirk and Steve Nash. I'm like, oh, these guys kind of nice. The rest is history. So that's how my fan base. That's how my teams came about.
All right, bro. Daddy Duty's stepping up to me.
Who?
Daddy Duty.
Oh, you have a kid. I didn't even know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, I got 2.
Oh, yeah, no, see, I didn't know that. Well, I probably did, and
so I gotta hit Daddy Duty.
Alrighty. Thanks, Sako. Brendan, thank you. Everybody, if you guys see this...
You, thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, man. Take care. So, guys, that was SokoNFL. That's his Twitter there. Cool guy. Great guy. We get along, even though he thought we didn't for a bit. Little miscommunication. But, nah, he's cool people. Glad to have him on talking about the Eagles. That's his Twitter there. I will post it in the comment section below, so y'all can hit the follow button on there. Um, I mean, I know he's an Eagles fan. I don't know if he watches. I will. If you guys love Eagles content, follow him there. He actually, so everything that he did, she's posted on Twitter. Obviously y'all could just watch the video and watch him go over it. He has a most recent tweet about the Eagles mock draft, so it was a good read. Y'all should go check that out. But his Twitter I will leave in the description below. I can hit the follow button there along with mine. I don't know what the next video is gonna be. He showed the GM Howie Roseman the last 10 years of his picks. So my next video might be from 2014 to now, New England's offensive misses in the draft. So that'll be my next video. But thanks for stopping by. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, please. Please. Yeah. Peace.